But without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Ashley Hever, Talent Acquisition Director for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and Judith Baines, Head of Careers and Employability at the University of Hertfordshire. Over to you, Ash.
Perfect. Thanks, Claire. And thank you for that great introduction. It is amazing to see all of these comments and to everyone telling us where across the globe they're coming from today. So we are so excited to be putting on this event. So thank you for joining our first ever virtual International Women's Day event. And as Claire said, our theme for this year is breaking barriers. Now, I'm extremely nervous, worried and panicked, but not about the opening, but just hoping that the technology is on our side today, and also hoping that we can get through this afternoon without those dreaded 3 words, you're on mute. And so excited that Claire asked me to open up the event today. So I'm going to be celebrating 20 years with the business at the end of this month. And for the last 15 of these, Enterprise has been named as one of the top 50 employers for women. In fact, we are one of only 5 graduate recruiters that are in the High Flyers Top 100 to be listed in the Social Mobility Index, the top 50 for women, and a Stonewall 100 champion. And I'm really hoping that throughout the day and the sessions, you will start to get an understanding and really look at some of the reasons why. So my name's Ashley Hever. I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition here at Enterprise and also chair our LGBTQ+ network, Enterpride. And I'm joined this afternoon by Judith Baines, who I've worked with for many years. And Judith is the Head of Service and Employability at the University of Hertfordshire. And we are here to introduce the event today. So why are we doing this event? Well, International Women's Day is marked annually on March the 8th. And is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. The day also marks a call to action for accelerating gender parity. Significant achievement activity is witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's achievements or rally for women's equality. International Women's Day also offers a good opportunity to reflect on how far we've come and how far we have to go when it comes to equality between the sexes. For example, only 29% of MPs are women. 25% of judges are women. And only 24% of FTSE 100 directors are women. I am proud and want to point out at this point that our president and CEO of Enterprise, I'm proud to say, is Chrissy Taylor, and she was recently named globally as one of the top women in travel and hospitality this year. And our vice president for HR in the UK and Ireland, Leila Fever, was also named as one of the top 30 most influential women in the automotive industry this year. Despite the positive story that women enter higher education in greater numbers than men and go on to achieve higher degree outcomes than men, a report, Mind the Graduate Gender Pay Gap, published late last year, found that before the pandemic, female graduates experienced a 7% pay gap 1 year after graduating and grew to an astonishing 24% after 10 years. The report also showed women were less likely to show confidence in their approach to job hunting, with the Student Academic Experience Survey showing that 60% of men feel prepared leaving university compared to 52% of women. So what happens when we look at the workplace? Women still occupy the lowest paid jobs. 3/4 of people who've done minimum wage jobs in the last 10 years are women. Working women earn 81p for every pound a man earns. And at the current rate, it will be 70 years before that gap eventually closes. We still have a long way to go, which is why we have events like this one today. But this cannot be a one-off event. It has to be something that we think about every day. Think about the Janet Jackson song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" We have to support women every day and not just on International Women's Day. And I know that I have a role to play in forging gender parity as a man. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. As with challenge comes change. The sessions today will address those invisible barriers that can hold us back. At Enterprise, we recognise the importance of gender parity. When Jack Taylor founded our company in 1957, the 8 values of the company were formed. One in particular refers to our doors are open. Back then, the importance of a workforce that mirrors the communities we operate in was highlighted. Those organisations with a diverse workforce generate the best ideas, identify opportunities, and allow us to lead as the biggest mobility provider in the world. At Enterprise, we typically host events internally throughout the year to develop our employees to challenge bias and overcome barriers to progression. This year, we felt it important to repurpose our content and partner with our student network. The last 12 months have been tough. Women in the workforce have especially struggled as they try to balance childcare commitments with work. And did you know that mothers were 40% more likely to have permanently lost their job or resigned as a result of COVID-19? Today's sessions are designed to maintain and raise your aspirations as you finish your education and enter the workplace, and help develop those of you who have had such a tough year. I hope you walk away with some great action steps and will really get involved and take part in our post-event activity. We reached out to our university partners and Inactus UK and Ireland, who have partnered with this on this event, members, to identify what students would like to see at such an event, hence this afternoon's agenda. So thank you to everyone that has worked so hard to put this event together, and for all of the support we have had marketing the event, from partners such as Target Jobs, Rate My Placement, My G Work, My Plus, and all of the great support that our universities, schools and colleges have really helped us ensuring that we were able to get the audience we've got today. Thank you to our team and the Enterprise team for organising today and bringing together some great panels and sessions. And most of all, thank you for choosing to attend this event this afternoon. I'm now going to hand over and have the pleasure of passing it over to Judith to hear a few words from her. Thank you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep.
You can, sorry, I just got a message on the screen, sorry. Yeah, okay. Okay, so thanks, yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you for inviting me to help introduce this great event today. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the speakers, and it's a privilege to speak to you all. As Ash said, I'm Head of Careers and Employment at the University of Hertfordshire, and I've been working within that area across different universities for around 22 years now. And I'm passionate about equality, diversity and inclusivity. And we have a student population of 53% Black, Asian and minority ethnic students, and 42% first in the family to go to university. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my background, really. So I had a really early introduction to equality issues and aspirational role models via my grandmother and my mum. So my gran was a very bright woman, but she left school at 12 years old and went into service, working as a maid in the big house, as she used to say to us. And that actually was quite usual for girls for working class backgrounds. And I watched the original Mary Poppins film with her, where I was introduced to my first suffragette, Winifred Banks, the mother in it. And I loved her as much as I loved Mary Poppins. So they became two more role models to add to my gran and my mum. But after watching it, my gran told me about Jenny Baines, which is my surname, Baines, who began working in a factory age 11, but went on to be one of the first suffragettes to advocate militant methods, and was imprisoned 15 times campaigning for women's rights until she died in 1951. And me and my gran like to think we were related to her. We may well have been, because it's not a common name, Baines, so I'd like to think so. But my mum was very unusual in going to university. She graduated in 1953 when only 5% of graduates were in fact women. Now you're in the majority, so it's 57%. But there was no careers advice back then, and the established pathway, the advice when you were a woman, was go to teacher training college, learn to type or get married. And she went on to be a teacher of the deaf and then got married. But she was and still is at nearly 90 years old, very proud of being a graduate from that time. Fast forward to me in 1982-83, thinking about what to do after sixth form, and there was still no careers advice for me, just advice from well-meaning family and friends. And it was pretty much the same. So go to teacher training college, learn to type, or train to be a librarian. So at least 30 years later, the advice to get married had actually disappeared. But I didn't want to do any of those things at the time. I just wanted to be in a band or be a fashion designer. And my role models were Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees and Debbie Harry and Vivienne Westwood. But I just didn't have the talent, or I have to say the looks when you think about Debbie Harry. So off I went to university and didn't use the careers service, which was in fact available to me at Newcastle. So I just didn't use it, graduated, and then I actually learnt to type, and then I ended up in education and being passionate about women's rights. So the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree, really, since I ended up being quite similar to my mum. But it's leads me back to my role as head of careers, and a really strong belief that you can only aspire to be what you can see. So part of my role is to make visible to you a wide range of career options and to help you make choices to take your first step into the world of work, whether that's working for a company or working for yourself. A survey by the Institute of Student Employers most recently said around 80% of employers did not specify a degree subject as part of their criteria for a graduate programme. So in many ways, there's almost too much choice out there for you to make a decision on. So very similar to a lot of universities, we arrange panels of speakers, getting them to talk about their experiences, and we arrange site visits to employers, guest lectures, speed networking events where you can meet 40 employers in 90 minutes, and shadowing schemes, and many other career services run the same events, things like mentoring schemes, but so much more than that as well. When we all went home last March, at first we found it very difficult to run all our interactive events online. So we went back to what our students told us they wanted, and time again they've said they want to see people they can relate to, role models and inspiration speakers that had come from similar backgrounds to the ones that they had. So as part of Black History Month and preparing months ahead for today, International Women's Day, the team collected about 90 case studies from our alumni to inspire our current students, particularly during, it was just such a difficult time last year. And we were really struck by the common themes in the case studies and the excellent advice that our alumni gave our students. So it was build supportive networks, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, be proactive, take every opportunity, create your own opportunities. And resilience came up a lot, and perseverance even in the face of rejection, and going the extra mile because it will get noticed. And the women in the case studies also commented a little bit more about reaching out to other people, not being afraid, not being alone, and asking for support and advice when needed. And career services can actually support you with all of these issues. We're certainly there when you need support and advice, whether you have no idea where to start or you know what you want to do. And we're there to help you, support you during recruitment rounds to impress employers. So there's so much more than where to get your CV checked, which is often what people do think we're there for. So we can give advice on how to reach out and create networks, how to build a proactive job search, building your brand, self-awareness, career resilience, assertiveness, and just so much more than that. So I just want to finish by saying you're all here today in a supportive, celebrating network, and you're actually taking action already by listening to today's inspirational speakers. So besides using your career service whilst at university, which I think is really important, I just have one piece of advice. So surround yourself with energy angels rather than energy vampires. So people who bring you up and raise you up and energize you rather than people who bring you down and drain you. And champion and celebrate yourself and your successes and those of other women at all times. So back to you, Ashley.
Perfect. Thank you, Judith. And that's why me and Judith get on so well. We're both energy angels. So again, Judith, thank you for supporting our event today. And if for those people, and Judith spoke a little bit about some of the blogs that her students had done, I'd really, encourage you to take a look on LinkedIn and social media, because there's some really powerful and great stories that you can see there. And as Judith said, make sure that you're using your career service and making most of what they can do and offer to you.